Fine. So BI is what is happening to your business, and business analytics is why it is happening to your business and what can it do in the future. So BI basically relates to dashboarding and visualizations, whereas analytics reports to how you can enable your business to do something different. And BI is what, analytics is why, and predictive analytics is what will. So there's one other form called prescriptive analytics, which is how can we achieve what we want to achieve. So let's see how it can help in our current scenario. So types of analytics, one is hybrid, consists of structure and the content, diagnostic, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. So descriptive is what happened, where 70% of effort go. Uh, uh, then diagnostic is 30%. Now, you of course would you say what is this 30%, 70%? It's like the amount of change or the growth that it is seeing. So 60% goes to predictive analytics. That means every year the predictive analytics market is going up, amazingly high. Um, so diagnostic again, if I descriptive is again what happened. So basic correlations. Sorry, your statistics, descriptive statistics. Diagnostic is when you look for a reason. So you find spurious or fundamentally challenging relationships, correlations. What are the key relationships? And in predictive, you say what will happen, what if, and how risky is it. So basically, try to probabilistically figure out what is the possibility of each event. Given that, given that, can we figure out why should I be doing this and how can I optimize? Is what is called as prescriptive analytics. Let's see what's next. Okay, what all constitute this term called predictive analytics? Consumer behavior, machine learning, pattern scoring, visualization, predictive behavior, decision making, communication, and statistical model. What do you think is the most important component here? Can you type in your answer on the chat? Anyone, just go for it. What do you think is the most important? What is the most important aspect here? Consumer behavior. Okay. What else? Machine learning. Mm-hmm. So I think okay. So the two most important ones are one is statistical model, the other one is machine learning, and third one is visualization. Now, honestly, machine learning and statistical model are the backbone and everything of predictive analytics. But how can you understand it until unless it makes sense? And it makes sense only when you use it in a visualization form, where you can show how accurately, how logically are you able to interpret the results. Oops, oops, I'm sorry. So look at the life cycle. Identify, formulate problem, data preparation, data exploration, transformation, build, validate, deploy, evaluate. All gone and said things. Well, the fact is, it's pretty much similar to a software life cycle. Just the difference is it could be iterative, and the model might just iterate itself based on what the output is. Think of an IT program, IT model, where you've got a project, you do the requirement, you do the analysis, you do the implement, the basic documentation, then you do software, the actual code development, then you go for the testing, debugging, blah 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 blah, till the end of the deployment of the product. Here, it goes into a different way altogether. You create the model, you validate it using some basic tests, and you send it back to the client. However, the catch here is the client might just say, okay, the results are okay, but I am still not satisfied. And then you have to reiterate the entire process, which makes your life difficult. I hope you all can hear me. Next, why predictive analytics? Okay, so it's like if you can figure out what's going to happen next, you can take the decisions accordingly. I mean, no one's need to know what exactly is predictive analytics, but But how is it a game changer? Let us see. So what does Forbes say? It's the ability to develop the ability to model and predict behaviors to the point where individual decisions can be made in real time based on the analysis at hand. That means I can back up my intuition using data rather than just my basic intuition. So employee attrition prevention. How many of you think employee attrition is a problem? The one who don't think can put in a chat. So it seems only one guy feels like that. Right. So there's a question by Manish. Manish, I'll take that question in the last. Uh, uh, just remember if in case I miss it out. It's a big problem, yes. Though there's a certain level of attrition that you would want to be there. So what is the biggest problem in employee attrition? It's the ability to figure out whether you want to do it in this way or not, whether you want a particular person to leave or not. You might invest in a particular employee, but then he leaves. And that's where you lose all the amount of investment that you made on that guy. So how do we figure that out? How do we figure out that a particular person would leave in certain amount of time? And there's something called as the employee age. It does not refer to the age of the employee, but it refers to the total time spent by the employee in the company. Okay. What is churn attrition? When customers reduce their usage or completely stop using your products, they are leaving your brand and might be shopping with your competitor. Churn prediction is nothing but it's an application. The number of churns is typically small compared to the number of customers that stay. Okay. Now, why would you want to do churn predictions? Of course, you want to do churn prediction because your customers are the way you earn, right? So let's say why do we figure so the sorry so the question is how do we figure out that these particular customers are going to leave? Well, there is a reason for it, and the reason is simple. Um, all the questions that are coming in right now, can you please keep it for the after the end of the session so that we can take it after that? And let me first finish the entire session. So when your customers reduce their usage or completely stop using your products, that is where you start losing out in business. But what if you can figure that out and you can serve your customers better, especially the ones that you think are going to leave, or you don't invest your time much in the customers where you think it's pretty much obvious that they're going to leave, right? That'll make your life simple. So first of all, why HR need analytics? Anyone who thinks HR does not need analytics, then in that case, I don't need to cover the slide. Or any examples of HR analytics that you guys think, any specific thing that HR could solve using analytics? Can do that. Yeah. So why do you think HR need analytics? Anyone? Okay. Well, HR need analytics because HR is not just related to hiring and firing of employees. It's much more, and it's quite beyond that. So HR can figure out, HR analytics can figure out whether your employees are happy or not. HR can essentially figure out is the salary that we're giving to the employees, is it a good number, a number that's sufficient? Of course, any salary would not be sufficient, but is it competitive enough? How fast do we need to grow? How slow do we need to grow? How much of an hike that we need to give to our employees so that they are satisfied? Blah, 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 blah. All that could be based on intuition or data. Choice is yours, right? One of the biggest HR analytics company, Workday and PeopleSoft, they are focusing heavily on analytics just because they feel that HR analytics is the way to go. Okay, so predict attrition, especially amongst the high performers. Forecast the right fitment of aspiring employee. Predict how compensation values will pan out, and establish linkage between employee engagement score and CSAT score, which is a work in progress. So how do you think we can figure out if the employees are happy? Well, that can be related to their engagement within the company, and that's where HR analytics can be very helpful. Impact of employee turnover. Now, new hire, onboarding, training, new assignment, and that's where your employee starts leaving. Now, now, once the employee starts, you know, starts to think that this is where he is not utilized well in the company, or when he starts thinking that his role could be bigger in a better in some other organizations, that is where HR can come in before he makes a decision to leave. In fact, there are certain companies like Belong.co. There's a company called Workday Analytics that that claims to figure out the fact that claims to figure out that that it can find whether the employee is thinking of a job change even before employee starts to think about it. So they know through data that employee is probably going to leave the company, even though the employee has not even thought of it. But eventually the employee leaves, and that's where they are capitalizing that they can do it better. And that's where, again, HR analytics becomes so very important. Okay, let's go ahead. Oops. So cost of employee turnover. I mean, these are numbers. You certainly can look at these numbers and figure out if they make sense or not. The idea is predicting or investing money in analytics which can serve the purpose of employee attrition, or at least do certain analysis, can be really handy. What's the real cost of losing an employee? What do you think is the most important impact or most pertinent impact of an employee who was doing well and he leaves? What do you think is the biggest outcome? Please type in your answers. I want to see what you guys think. Guys, let's make it a more interactive webinar. So if you guys could put that down in the chat, that would be really helpful. The question is, what do you think is one of the most important impact, one of the most, uh, let's say, you know, which point among the ones that are given here impacts an organization the most when an employee leaves, specifically when someone leaves who was good, someone who was good enough was getting probably was this probably was the star in the company, and then he leaves. What do you think is 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 not just the cause, but the impact of that guy leaving the company? So what I'm trying to say is how effective your organization can be if they can figure out a person is going to leave. Probably give them the hike or the kind of visibility that they need, and probably retain the employee. So what do you think is the most important, the most impacting reason? But I think it's cultural impact, because when someone who's doing good leaves, others do ask this question: why? Why are you leaving? Make sense? Why employees look for a change? I was concerned about the lack of opportunities for advancement. I wanted more challenging work. I wasn't satisfied. Blah 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 blah. What do you think is the most important part? I think this one here is the most important part. Until unless you are mature enough to understand that small compensation hike does not really impact your career. So, so um, the idea is that we should be able to figure out what are the, so for example, as per this chart, it says, I was concerned about the lack of opportunities for advancement. However, the idea is that the how can you figure out if the employee is happy with kind of opportunities he's got? And that can be done through analytics. Yeah, so I think I'm getting some reasonably good inputs. Thank you for that. What can we do about it? Analyze the following traits. Identify which type of employees are churning. What is the churn rate? What is the financial loss? How is it trending? Then segment them. Segment them means you group them together and see what is the behavior. Okay, research we can always figure out. That's not data question. However, the data question could be what set of people are leaving. Are the top employees leaving? That's a big problem for me. I shouldn't let that happen. So I remember long back, Mr. Narayana Murthy said, I don't mind if people leave. And after a year, he did apologize for that because it was the best employees who were leaving. They said the best set of employees who were leaving. And then only they got Vishal Sikka in and Infosys got into a better shape. I don't know if it's in a better shape, but it certainly seems to be doing better. Uh, how reliable is the interview reason? As many people don't give real reason for exit. Yeah, so Manish, just hold on a question. Let's take it up at the last in the last section of this session. So predictive modeling can help us figure out who are most likely to churn and which employees are most profitable. Of course, that's not predictive analytics. Rather, it's uh, more about descriptive analytics. So conduct regular surveys, use your insights to engage your employees. But that's the next set of steps that you could take in order to have a good relationship with your employees. But the fact is, how we can figure out who are the ones can only be done through the predictive analytics. Oops, sorry. Okay, so build an attrition model, build a profitability model, and bring a cost model with above two models. So basically, you can figure out the impact and the likelihood and the risk. If how do we figure out that what is more likely and what is the impact? So if we can figure out the risk involved in terms of leaving of an employee leaving is pretty low, then you might be okay. But if it's high, then there's a definite reason to worry about, and that's why this model could be really helpful. So let's look at this on the right hand side. So you reduce your business risk by mitigating employee churn. That's obvious. So HR and business, we can figure out these two areas differently, and we can predict that what are the clusters at risk of leaving, people who are at risk of leaving, predicting top 5 drivers of leaving. Of course, there are variables that could, they are very, so we can create a model that can have output as possible attrition employee or not. So if the employee is at a risk of getting of risk of leaving company, then you can figure out what are the top drivers that are making him get away from the current organization. Then, of course, we can use predictive analytics for all the predictive business analytics and ROI analytics. So that's a different story. So smart HR analytics can foresee the churn for sure. We can find the correlations, causations, and prediction. Why biz impact? So basically, biz impact is nothing but it's a data set which can help you understand your employees. So with the descriptive analytics, of course, all the HRs are running surveys, scorecards, benchmarks, metrics, but they're not doing anything on the causation prediction side. So how can we improve that? Right? That's a question. What is normally measured by the HR? So employee engagement, performance rating, retention, HIPPO line, whatever person employee with dev plans, blah 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 blah. But what are the most important factors that can decide whether a company is whether employee is going to be retained by the company or not, or if whether the person will leave or not? I think level of expertise and readiness for the job are the most important contributing factors. What can you measure by predictive analytics? Recruitment, retention. So have you heard of a company called Milong.co? I used to work with that company, and what they've done is that with the resume, just with the resume, they can figure out whether the person will be selected or not algorithmically. So even without interviewing the candidate, you can figure out whether he is at the risk of leaving the company. So he's the one you want for this post or not. Then organization effectiveness, performance and career management, training, comp and benefits, and workforce. So critical area for predictive analysis. Turnover modeling, that's nothing but predicting future turnover in business units in specific functions. Geographies by looking factors such as commute time, time since last role change, and performance. Target retention, find out high risk of churn in the future and focus retention activities on very few set of people which you think are critical. Then risk profile of candidates with high risk of leaving prematurely or they're performing below, and try to figure out a pattern that can give you some understanding on it. Oops, sorry. And talent forecasting. So what could be the new set of employees? What would they be doing? Uh, so uh, uh, so basically, uh, can we figure out what would be our new set of skills in the company based on the talent? So that's that we're going to hire. So that's amazing if we can do that. Keeping a matrix live even when it has no clear business reason for being is one of the common HR mistakes that we want to avoid. So the business is very dynamic. It changes quite strongly, and and uh, uh, it it basically needs a lot of understanding of what is changing around in your business, and that's where we need to keep a metric static or dynamic based on its usability within the organization. Or relying on just few metrics, that's again a problem. Insisting on 100% accurate data before an analysis is accepted, which is never possible. So your data, whatever you have, is what you have. So important is that we make use of the data to get to a better level. Assessing employees only on simple measures such as grades and test scores, which is again a mistake, and using analytics to hire low-level people, but not when assessing senior management. So this company in the Bay Area, I forgot, they figured out the attrition based on the lunch timing of an employee. At what time does he go for lunch? And they could figure that out that people in this particular time frame normally leave the company earlier. Well, analyzing HR efficiency metrics only is another problem. So predicting analytics is a game changer. Well, of course, the value of a value increase of zero point 0.1 increase in employee engagement can relate to a good drop in the attrition. For example, uh, let's see this one. At Best Buy, for example, the value is more than 100,000 in the store's annual operating income. That's huge. If we can increase employee engagement by 0.1%, that's $100,000. That's pretty huge, right? What's next? Okay, predictive analytics as a game changer is the same thing. We can figure out why, because my companies favor job candidates with stellar image scores from prestige schools, but AT&T and Google have established through quantitative analysis that demonstrate ability to take initiative is a far better predictor of high performance on the job. So basically, they don't really look for the candidates with stellar records. Rather, they look at candidates whom they fit are whom they fit is a better candidate for the for the job based on the discussion they've had. Oracle has done a lot of HR analytics implementation at their side, and they are driving the global policies by asking their customers and by looking at the surveys within the organization. Uh, so as Sprint, they've also been able to tell that who are going to leave the company, in a relatively short time. So all Indian MNCs have got a problem statement. It wants to identify relation between percent revenue growth and percent headcount. their revenue and headcount details for the past 10 years. Solution: identify the correlation coefficient between the type of data and plot a scatter plot. Simple. Given the revenue growth is estimated at X% of the year, we can predict the headcount growth. Absolutely. Now, HR manager identifies 20 variables such as education, qualification, blah, 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 blah. He wants to identify mutually exclusive variables which affect hiring effectively. So using factor analysis, you can easily do that. Mutually exclusive factors can be identified. So that means college and gender does not have a combined effect on the hiring. So another problem, campus hiring team is interested in how variables such as entrance test scored by company uh, and prestige in the institution affect selection. Well, you can figure out what is the final output and you can put up a loss regression kind of a model to see that. Again, a similar problem. So first thing is the key to success would be develop a culture of data-driven decision making, which would make you take more informed decisions. There is transparency of business and workforce information. That's pretty much what we know. Empower line leaders, not just HR and L&D. That's a pretty logical idea because, and this all is actually derived from a pilot that we did at a certain organization. And analytics as a journey, yes, so keep on using analytics. That's it. So we're done with the slides. Now it's time for you to ask the questions. So for the one who asked their questions and I could not answer, please put your questions again and I'll be happy to answer those. Questions? Okay, it seems. Why is consumer behavior not key here? Isn't it the base of all analytics? Yes, of course, that's true. But in terms of, I wanted to focus on HR analytics. Okay, consumer behavior does not really impact my HR analytics. I am working in Java from 6 years. Can I start? Yes, of course you can. Certainly. Is it a good initiative? What is it? Yeah, of course you can try for data science position. Certainly. So basically we cover a lot of domains. We cover stock market, we cover HR analytics, we cover cement, the concrete strength prediction. We also do a lot of theft analytics, risk analytics. So we cover a lot of softwares, a lot of domains, I'm sorry. Yes, R and Python can be used for prediction. Questions for Sandeep Pandey. And it was Nand Kumar whom I answered before Sandeep. Questions? Or let me read from the list that I have. The book that you need is Elements of Statistical Learning by Trevor and Rob. Guys, question? Guys, question. I'm waiting for the questions. No, this analytics is not possible because many times you will have to deal with unstructured data which can't be processed in Excel. Plus, if you want to build up a model which is a bit complex fun and not just a linear model, Excel doesn't help. Right. Any more questions? I've mentioned the book name, Elements of Statistical Learning by Rob Teshurani. Okay. Can cost of hire versus retention be compared through of prediction analysis too? Well, we know the cost of hire, and we can find out the retention. We can find who are more uh, probable to leave, and then we can come up with a metric. That could be helpful, but not this ratio itself because we know the ratio. How reliable is the exit interview reason as many people? Well, well, uh, well. To be honest, there's no such idea which gives you a clear indication. But what if there's a common pattern in exit interview where people use a similar, pretty much a known measure, right? I mean, people don't talk about okay, the compensation is low, so that's one analytics, but that's not predictive analytics. It's just that it's not a simple descriptive analytics. Which software are you using for data science course? I'm using R and Python, Mahout and Hadoop. four of them. But Mahout, Hadoop, they're only for one session. Python is for one session again for text analytics. Rest is pure R. Any more questions? Right. So that is so now you can relate to the person who's left, his background, his demographics to the compensation. And while you hire up some person with similar background, you can pretty much figure out that this guy is not very happy with the salary and stuff. That's where it becomes different. So difference between forecasting and prediction. Pretty good question. Simple. In forecasting, we use the values of for last month to predict the next month. In prediction, we don't do that. What I mean to say is, for example, you want to figure out the stock prices. So you can use the value of the last day of the stock, and even for the last 7 days to predict the value for for the coming day. That's forecasting. But in predicting, you don't use one of the previous values of the output variable as input to get the final output. How to generate a reliable predictive model? Well, there's cross validation. We do a lot of cross validation. Okay, uh, not really necessarily. Programming knowledge of is not required. Okay, where can we get the exercises? It's a part of the course. No, so we don't have a course for HRs. Specifically, this was a webinar for HR analytics. So if someone from the HR side wants to understand it, he or she needs to go through the generic data science course, generic sense for all the domains, and then apply it effectively for their own domain. Okay, thank you so much for joining in. I hope there are no more questions. So thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you probably next time with a different topic. Thank you so much. Bye bye.